The New Beginning is a novel that embraces a multifaceted narrative structure, weaving together the stories of various characters to provide readers with a comprehensive view of the overarching tale. The inclusion of dates and locations plays a crucial role in grounding the reader in time and space, enhancing the understanding of each character's journey. Day 1. The New Beginning. December 10th, 2048. On a chilly day in December, I found myself at the local neighborhood market when I encountered the first graphite cyborg. It approached me with an ominous message, declaring that the world as I knew it would soon come to an end, and there was nothing I could do to prevent it. Desperate for answers, I bombarded it with questions. Who, what, when, where, and why? Yet, all it could offer in response was, "Elements versus humans, make no error." The source of these unsettling words was a frail, elderly woman with a raspy, demonic voice and pale white eyes. "Elements of Earth? Are you saying Earth is going to turn against us?" I questioned, locking eyes with the eerie woman. However, she remained silent. Suddenly, the ground began to tremble, causing products to cascade from the shelves around us. When I glanced back at the old woman, she had vanished. Alone and rattled, I stumbled and ran through the store, trampling over spilled goods. Upon reaching the parking lot, the rumbling ceased. As I pondered whether it was an earthquake or somehow connected to the enigmatic lady in the produce aisle, a sense of unease lingered in the cold December air. The chilling encounter at the market left me with a sense of foreboding that clung to me like a shadow. I hurriedly made my way home, the sky overhead now transformed into a swirling canvas of ominous clouds. The air crackled with tension. The distant rumblings of thunder echoed through the horizon. As I walked, the weather seemed to mirror the turmoil within me. The wind howled with an unsettling intensity, and the clouds above churned and twisted in strange patterns. It was as if nature itself was responding to the cryptic warning. My steps quickened, propelled not only by the biting cold, but also by an urgency to reach the safety of my home. The streets, once bustling with the energy of the market, now felt eerily deserted. Windows rattled in their frames as the ground beneath me continued to tremble sporadically. Fear gnawed at the edges of my consciousness, and I couldn't shake the feeling that the elderly woman's cryptic message held a deeper truth. As I approached my neighborhood, the surroundings took on an otherworldly quality. The trees swayed violently, branches whipping through the air like restless spirits. The first drops of rain began to fall, quickly escalating into a torrential downpour. The world around me blurred, distorted by the relentless assault of the storm. Upon reaching my doorstep, I fumbled for my keys, the metallic jangle drowned out by the cacophony of the storm. With a sigh of relief, I stepped inside and closed the door behind me. The contrast between the tempest outside and the relative calm within was stark, but my unease persisted. I gazed out the window as the storm intensified, the rain pelting against the glass like a barrage of tiny, relentless soldiers. The ground continued to shake intermittently, as if the earth itself were protesting some impending catastrophe. I couldn't shake the feeling that the old woman's warning was just the beginning of a much larger, ominous truth unraveling before me. As I stood there, grappling with the uncertainty of the situation, a distant flash of lightning illuminated the sky, revealing a world on the brink of upheaval. Little did I know that the days ahead would be filled with challenges beyond imagination. The elements themselves would indeed play a pivotal role in shaping the destiny of humanity. Day 45. Organized Chaos, January 23rd, 2049. We are all sitting around the campfire in Sector 3B. My wife, AB, is cooking us food in a makeshift saucepan made from an old car rim. "Beans and carrots again, Miss B," barks out the young dumbass of the Revo. His name is MVT, but most just call him T. "Yes, T. I'll give you some extra carrots if you are a good little boy and shut the hell up," she says while stirring the stew. Everybody laughs at my wife's response, making T get up and walk away, sparking his rolled cigarette. My wife was always like that, even before the shift, and kept me in line, that's for sure. This world has changed quite a bit. Every day feels like a piece of this world crumbles away into space. almost like we are losing oxygen by the hour, and the cloud has darkened more than ever before. These graphite cyborgs, we just call them sci-fights, are getting the best of us lately, but we're keeping spirits high. We are all done with dinner and going back to our posts in separate sectors. We have over 200 sectors spread throughout the Colorado Rockies. We have also gotten word that there are thousands more down west. My wife and I share a pod in Sector L2. It's in a cave in Colorado Springs. There are about 10 pods in this cave, but only 4 are taken. It's my wife and me in Pod 2. Our neighbor to the right is a professor from Colorado University named Paul Faber. Paul was an interesting character. He would only talk to someone if he was drunk, and even then would only mumble some depressing shit about what he's done, and what America has done. So we tend to ignore him. Then on the other side were our closest friends in this place, Castell and his wife, Demi. They were a little bit younger than we were, but active and strong throughout. Our cave is connected to theirs, and then down to the left of their pod was our captain. Right, this guy was a fucking joke. He never leaves his pod and is always calling out absurd commands like, "Calling all O1 troops. Report to the command post. Sci-fights are attacking the northern borders," screamed over the radio. So following his command, we would send out troops to investigate, having to travel miles to the northern border, only to find nothing and no tracks anywhere. The old delirious bastard would send them knowing our only stronghold was our energy and time in this war. For that just to go to waste, we required a real leader. Every night we send 2 people out to protect the front gate, about a quarter of a mile from the sector. Their job was to stand post for 2 hours, and then rotate with the next 2 people. Castell and I were up for the 2200 to 2400 shift. We would usually grab a few beers and drink for the 2 hours, but tonight was different. We hadn't said anything for the first hour or so until Castell said, "Are we gonna die, man?" Shivering and stuttering. "What? What the hell makes you say that?" I said while tossing another log on the fire. "The world is falling apart, and I know you can tell too. The sci-fights are only growing stronger as we get weaker," he says while taking a sip off his silver flask. "Nah, man. The world, this Earth, will be fine. It always has. I mean, of course, it has its cycles, but it will always remain the same. As for those sci-fights, fuck them. We know their weaknesses, plus we got guns to remember," I say after exhaling the last puff of my cigarette and a little doubt in my voice. A large gust of wind comes in, carrying blistering snowdrifts, putting out the fire, our only source of heat in these frigid conditions. So Castell pulls out a safety flare from his bag, then tosses it down the exit trail. As we start making our way back towards the sector, we hear a blood-curdling scream from a woman just a few sectors over. Then a large blue, green, and purple flash. The screaming stops. Castell and I run to investigate, guns drawn. As we start to descend towards this sector, we come to a huge cliff, well over 300 feet deep and as far as the eye can see in length. "No way across?" yells Castell. He pulls out another safety flare and throws it across the huge gap. It lands, lighting up the carnage that has just taken place on our fellow Revos. Bodies were sprawled all over the place, men, women, and even children. We yell for any survivors, but no response. We heard a dog barking in the distance. The barking was coming from our side, though. So we ran for a few minutes towards this fated bark. As we close in, we realize the dog is protecting someone lying on the ground. Castell crouching to his aid. "It's the captain!" I cover our surroundings as Castell tends to him. "What happened here, my friend?" I ask, running my fingers through the dense fur of the dog. His gaze meets mine, revealing eyes that are unnaturally pale and white. Is this dog blind? Despite being a fully grown Siberian husky, his resemblance to a wolf is striking. I turn to check on Castell, and upon returning my attention, the dog has vanished, likely retreating into obscurity. He intervened to safeguard this man's life, but for what purpose? In this struggle for survival, why didn't he continue on his way, or worse, attempt to harm the captain? This question lingers in my thoughts throughout the remainder of the night. We went back to camp and broke the tragic news to the rest of the Revos. We prepared to bury the captain, and the people then asked, "Who will protect us now?" 2 months before Shift Oil Wars, October 10th, 2048.
BP launches innovative drill in Gulf of Florida, pledges safety after California incident. CNN reported today that the BP oil company has inaugurated its latest well pad in the Gulf of Florida. The initial drilling through the dense rock layer proved successful. BP CEO Jeff Franklin expressed enthusiasm while addressing reporters on Lapita Beach.
We are delighted with this new location, especially following our recent incident in California. With our advanced technology, we can now penetrate single layers without disturbing the surrounding areas. Meet Drill C-240. I am confident she'll get the job done efficiently and safely.
President Cambrook expressed gratitude for Franklin's transparency, saying on Friday,
"We support BP on this project with minimal margin for error. A single mistake could result in a permanent shutdown. I am eager to witness the capabilities of this new equipment. Best of luck to the men and women working in sunny Florida today."
BP has deployed 450 of its most skilled technicians, scientists, and riggers for this project, striving to avoid any mishaps. They have a 2-week window and 10 drill attempts to reach oil approximately 5,350 feet below the ocean surface. Today marked drill attempt #1, with #2 scheduled to commence tomorrow at 5 a.m.
2 months before shift, aboard Drill C-240, October 11th, 2048. Journal entry, #475, 4:30 a.m. My alarm goes off, of course. My hand firmly lands on top of the snooze button. After another 5 minutes, I drag myself out of my bunk, then slap my partner Buzz in the face. "Wake up, bitch! It's a big day, boy." I run to the bathroom and let the toxins from the night before drain. "Shouldn't have drank so much," I tell myself, while holding the wall in front of me for stability. "Buzz, are you up yet? Let's go, already late as shit." I walk back out to our little dorm room. Buzz is twisting a pipe like usual. Does that shit make you feel like Superman or something? This guy was like Superman too. He could lift a 300 pounds pipe and install it himself too. Nah man, gives me a straight head when I'm out there. It feels like I'm invincible. "What are you afraid them graphite cyborg thing's gonna get me?" he says before hitting the pipe one more time. "Graphite, Si? What the hell are you on?" Oh yeah, he's high on drugs. Whatever it is, or doesn't do, I don't give a shit, and neither does Micah. Let's go. I grabbed my belt and walked out, leaving Buzz behind. You see, Micah is our boss, and someone you just don't mess with. I've heard about guys he's thrown off the ship for being late, or accidentally pushing guys into a live drill before for wasting his time. The problem is, he always gets away with it. Shit anybody could out here, no laws. So I get up to the platform, and Micah has everybody lined up naked, and he's got a high-powered hose spraying our whole team, and he is screaming, "How's it feel, you little fucking girls? Still hungover, are ya? Well, guess what? Today is the beginning of your end, and you chose to start it this way." Then he turns to me, still spraying everybody, and says, "Oh, decided to join us, Applegate. You fucking drunk too, boy," he says to me with a quick little jab to my stomach, checking to see if I could hold myself. I tried, I did, but I couldn't resist. I fell over and puked. Micah grabs me by the hair and drags me to the pool with the rest of the crew and starts to spray me as well. "You smell and look like shit. You're all worthless to me and the oil industry." And he continues to spray. Micah allowed 3 guys to go at a time, emphasizing that, intoxicated or not, the job had to be done. After about 15 people, Micah finally released me, but not without declaring that due to my tardiness, I was assigned sludge cleaner for the day, commonly known as bitch in the ditch. Descending the dilapidated narrow staircase into the Spin Master, a large machine situated between the platform and the drill, I embarked on my task of ensuring the proper separation of oil from the sludge, similar to a filter. As a scientist, not accustomed to roughneck work, the role proved to be a relentless challenge. Covered in scalding sludge, oil, and a mixture of ocean water, I continually probed and scraped the inner blades of the machine. However, the build-up was horrible, prompting me to think, wow, great machine and top-of-the-line technology here, guys, I muttered to myself, grappling with the demanding and messy nature of my assigned duty. It started to build up around my ankles. I yelled up to the deck, "What the hell are you guys doing up there?" I got no response though, so I just kept jabbing and scraping, but it was getting too thick. So thick, I couldn't hardly move anymore. I didn't leave the lab and my comfy white coat to do this shit. So I climbed back up the narrow staircase to find my whole team has disappeared. I walked around to see what happened, but the whole rig was dead silent with no movement other than the seagulls flying above. I make my way up to the bridge, and Buzz is standing at the captain's post. "What the fuck, Buzz? Where is everybody?" The door to the bridge slams behind me. "They're gone, every one of them, and you need to join them, Mr. Applegate." He turns towards me and has white, solid eyes. "Whoa, you smoked yourself blind there, Buzz?" I start to back away from him, as I get a very bad feeling that this isn't Buzz I'm talking to. He starts to sway back and forth. "A war is coming for you and your kind. I suggest you surrender and let us cure this world of your disease." His voice is low, very low. "Buzz? Buddy, is that you? What are you talking about war and shit for? We're partners. You can tell me this shit, whatever it is." I turn to grab the handle of the door behind me, but it's locked. I look back and Buzz is still just standing there swaying back and forth with those creepy white eyes still locked on me. I get no response from him, pure silence. I focus on the ocean behind him and see a tidal wave the size of a skyscraper headed straight towards us. I yell for Buzz to get low. He doesn't move though. I try to open the door, but it won't open, so I smash through a window behind me and climb through, dropping to the deck below. "Evac boats!" I run to the boats and pull the emergency inflate cord. The boat inflates in seconds. I climb underneath. Boom! The rig is hit hard and feels like a car in a head-on collision with a semi-truck. It throws me about 30 feet forward. Then I'm completely submerged in water. I hold onto the grips of the boat for dear fucking life. It pulls me back to the surface, where I notice our rig has now been sunk. What was I to do now? No rig, crew, water, food, or any sense of direction. I'm fucked, with Mother Nature as my witness. Fuck you, graphite cyborgs.
This was the last known whereabouts of the scientist John C. Applegate. This journal was very important in the new war after the shift. He had written this on his evac raft, which was found off the coast of Japan, without him on it.
3 years before shift, Geological Dynamics, April 14th, 2045. Manhattan, New York. It was raining outside and the wind was coming through the windows like coyotes howling at a full moon. I remember looking outside and seeing trees falling over and taking out power lines all around my neighborhood. I saw my neighbor's garage get smashed in from a huge oak tree they've had in their yard for years. People were outside, up to their knees in water already. I turned on the news, and they were saying that there was a massive storm cell moving in from the east. It appears to be at least 3 times stronger and bigger than any recorded hurricane. They advised everyone to stay indoors or evacuate businesses, homes, beaches, or piers in the whole state. I pick up my phone and call my husband. He works at the World Dynamics and Future Studies facility as a field officer. They have been out to sea for the past 4.5 months, studying the movement of the tectonic plates. The last time I spoke with him, he said the activity they had been getting in the past few weeks on the plates was outstanding. The plates had shifted 2 degrees south in 1 hour and about 10 degrees west in 2 days, but he said in the last week they had gone haywire, almost doing 360-degree turns in minutes, creating tsunamis the width of Texas and the height of Mount Everest, blazing across the northern Atlantic Ocean, leaving nothing but a clear path of carnage behind. Of course, the answering machine. There was barely any service out there in the first place, especially with the storm. Hey, honey, it's me. I am scared, and I miss you so damn much right now. I wish I could at least hear your voice, let alone be in your arms. I hope you're okay. I stop talking. Everything goes quiet. I hear the news reporter on my TV scream. I look at the screen. The cameraman is running away from something, with the camera moving with each lunge and step, making it impossible to see anything. The camera drops, now facing the opposite direction of which everyone is running, a massive wave heading right toward New York.
Day 46, Organized Chaos, January 24th, 2049. Now with the captain dead, the Revo is looking for a new leader. There are some potential candidates, but all of them lack leadership skills. Even T was thrown in the lineup. We would all be dead in a matter of hours if that was the case. We all met in the corridor cave to discuss and vote for a new captain. We had about 15 nominees, including myself. The way we did the voting was we had a separate cave around the corner. We had 2 guards watching it, and would have each person voting to go into the cave and write down the initials of the person they were voting for on the wall. Each person put their vote in, and we had one of the guards count them. All right, after putting all the votes together, we have come up with a new leader, Captain Aaron Schultz. The guard said while holding up a tally marker to show everyone. The people elected me as their new leader, prompting me to ponder the question. Why? What qualities did they see in me that made them believe I was fit for leadership? Regardless of my own perceptions, the fact remains that I now have a new role to fulfill. Immediate attention must be given to crucial matters that demand our focus. I grab my wife and tell her my plan to move west to find other survivors. We have enough food and water to feed the people for about another month, and then we will be dry. We had to move, let alone find food or people. Do you think that is what we need though, Aaron? I mean, you know more than half the people here can barely walk from one cave to the next. What makes you think they can travel for miles? She says to me with a very confused look on her face. Yes, honey. I do believe that is what we need. I understand a majority of the people won't be able to make the distance, but I don't think we have a choice. I mean, if the captain had made this choice a while ago, we wouldn't have this issue. People would have had enough energy and strength to do it. But he didn't, unfortunately. We will have to address this with the rest of the Revo, but we will have to do it regardless of people's ability to do so. I felt horrible telling my wife we may have to leave people we love behind, but it was our only choice for survival. So we put out an announcement over the radio for everyone to meet in the corridor cave at 0700 the next morning. I couldn't sleep that night. I had to think of a way to get everybody to travel safely, but how? I thought of maybe sending a convoy to get any vehicles from the nearest town, but the Sci-Fites have taken over and demolished every city or town we know. It was our only hope, though. The next morning, everybody met in the corridor as planned. I stood on top of the highest rock in the cave so everyone could hear and see me. Good morning, fellow Revos. How is everybody doing after having a rough couple of days? I know I'm still a little fuzzy. We have been thrown a very large bone and we have to pick at it very cautiously. I've been trying to come up with ideas or solutions for us to possibly move west. Unfortunately, there's no easy way to successfully do it without someone getting hurt or possibly killed. My first idea was to start the long journey on foot this week, but realized we may have trouble getting everyone to travel such a far distance. So I was up all night trying to think of an easier way to transport everyone. It was not an easy task, but quite literally, our only option. We could send about 5 troops out to Manitou Springs in search of any vehicles. We can all take a vote unless we have any volunteers. Before I could say anything else, T interrupted. I'll go, he said while pushing his way through the crowd. Me too, says Marco. Count me in too, Capt, says Eric. All right, thanks, guys. Any other volunteers before we take a vote? I say while looking through the crowd to see if there is anyone else. Okay, so the voting will go as follows. We will put our heads down, and I will call out 3 random names. If I call out the name of the person you want to go, just raise your hand. It will be the best of the 3. All right, heads down. Everyone puts their heads down, and I call out the first random name. Michael Anthony. I counted all raised hands for Michael, 17 votes. Okay, and John Wilson. Again, I see hands shoot in the air. After the count, I got 23. All right, and last, but not least, myself, Aaron Schultz. I was not surprised to see the majority of people vote for me. 36 votes. Okay, thank you everybody for your participation. We have come up with the 2 best candidates for the trip. John Wilson and I will take the others to Manitou tonight at 2100. I say as everybody starts to gather their belongings and head back to their caves. The sun started to go down and the butterflies started to wake up in my stomach. I sent out a call over the radio for the cavalry to meet at the East Gate in 15 minutes. After putting that announcement out, I had to start packing my gear. I packed enough gear and weapons to last about 2 days for a worst-case scenario. I kissed my wife goodbye and started to head to the East Gate. Day 15. The New Beginning. December 25th, 2048. My wife, Abby, and I hurriedly packed whatever we could cram into our suitcases, a sense of urgency propelling us forward. It had been just over 2 weeks since my encounter with the first graphite cyborg at the market, a bizarre incident involving a seemingly crazy old lady. Since then, I found myself crossing paths with several individuals sporting those distinctive pure white eyes, all fervently proclaiming that the world was on the brink of collapse. Unable to decipher their true nature, I speculated that these beings might be a form of artificial intelligence, their programming tinged with apocalyptic scenarios. However, this hypothesis fell short of explaining their disappearances. While artificial intelligence is known for its sophisticated thinking and actions, vanish was unreasonable. Since the incident at the market that day, numerous earthquakes and tsunamis have occurred, leaving most cities and towns submerged in rain or ocean water. Surprisingly, there is no sign of evacuations anywhere. Abby? Are you almost ready? I yell back to the room as I stare out of the window, my belongings all packed and by my side. She snapped back.
Yeah, babe. Kinda hard to pack your whole life in a matter of minutes, though, so give me a second.
Okay, that's about all you get because I would give you the chance to pack everything if I could. But Mother Nature isn't as patient, I say, running in and grabbing whatever of hers I could and stuffing it in her bag.
What do you mean Mother Nature isn't patient?
She asks while zipping up her bag. I mean, she is pissed and on a vengeance to tear down everything in her path, which includes the Charlotte's house. I point out of the window to show Abby the path of a huge tornado only about 10 houses down and heading right towards us. A tornado in this part of Colorado? We run outside. Debris is flying all around us, anything from small pieces of paper to huge pieces of metal and concrete. A searing pain shoots through my leg as a sharp piece of metal connects, slicing through my flesh. Grasping my injured limb, I wince, the reality of the injury settling in. I see a gutter lid flying right towards Abby. It was too far away and it was too loud to yell, but I did anyway. Abby! She hears me and looks, just in time for the lid to hit the side of her head, send her flying about 10 feet from where she was standing. I rush over to find the side of her head now. There's a huge gash about the size of a small canyon from her ear to the bottom of her neck. Abby? Baby, are you okay? Can you hear me? I get no response, so I check for her pulse. There is one, but barely. I pick my wife's lifeless body up, put her in the back seat of the car, and start to drive west. I was looking back in my rearview mirror only to see my whole neighborhood getting destroyed like a very well-rehearsed demolition. Was this the end of days?
Three years before shift, geological dynamics, April 15th, 2045. Aboard the USS Lawrence, North Atlantic Ocean.
Thanks for calling World Dynamics and Future Studies. This is Joe speaking. How may I direct your call?
Hello, is Mr. Rice available? I asked the gentleman on the phone.
May I ask who is calling?
Yes, this is his wife, Mrs. Rice. I haven't heard from him in the past couple weeks. I was just rescued from the shelter at Bryant Park in New York. I've tried his cell phone several times, but never got a response. I'm starting to get worried, Joe.
Oh my God, are you okay? I'm so sorry. It's horrible what happened out there. Well, damn, there is no easy way to tell you this, Mrs. Rice. But Mr. Rice has been MIA for the past 2.5 weeks. His last known location was on a carrier ship heading to Asia for a follow-up on the shifting plates, but they went off the radar and we've sent out several search parties for them, but have come up with nothing. We are still in full search for the ship, but as of right now, we consider them all as KIA.
The cadet was trying to be strong, but you could tell in his voice he was scared. Why haven't I been notified of this? He is my husband. You are obligated to inform me of these things. Where is your supervisor? I need to speak with him right now. I was yelling at the young man now. I knew it wasn't his fault, but somebody needs to be held accountable for this.
Yes, Mrs. Rice, right away. Please hold while I get my supervisor.
He places me on a silent hold for about 3 minutes.
Hello, Mrs. Rice. My name is Lieutenant George Cussler. I am the leading supervisor here at WDFS. Cadet Joe O'Keefe has notified me that you are upset about us not informing you about your husband's whereabouts. Is this correct?
He asked with a very stern voice. Yes, Lieutenant, I am very upset. Why wouldn't you tell me about my husband? I have the right to know what happened. I am quite hysterical at this point.
Okay, I understand your frustration, and please accept my apology. I would like to let you know a little bit about our protocol here at WDFS, if you don't mind.
The lieutenant asks in a light tone. Please continue, I tell him.
In situations involving a ship disappearing from radar or a missing persons case, our standard protocol is to wait approximately 730 hours, equivalent to a month, before initiating contact with any relatives or next of kin. Given that only 420 hours have elapsed since the disappearance, there is currently no obligation to report it. I extend my sincere condolences regarding your husband's situation. Please understand that we are actively addressing numerous missing ships, and our efforts are focused on locating them. If you wish, we can add you to our update list and notify you as soon as any developments arise.
Meanwhile, in the background, various conversations echoed about other missing ships and ongoing global tsunami concerns. Yes, please put me on an update list. I need to know if my husband is okay, and thank you for letting me know the status as well, Lieutenant Cussler, I told the lieutenant while still hysterical, but calm down now.
We will do that, Mrs. Rice. And if there is anything I can do in the meantime, please feel free to contact me at any time. My extension is 101.
The lieutenant then hangs up the phone. Once the call was disconnected, I started to cry uncontrollably. I knew he should have never gone out there in the first place. I tried everything in my power to stop him too, but we were in no condition to risk our financial status over my selfish needs, so I had to let him go, and maybe forever.
Day 46, Organized Chaos, January 24th, 2049. It was about -2 degrees out that night, and ice instantly started to freeze over my long caveman-like beard. I left for the east gate about 20 minutes before everyone else to get an idea of what we were getting into. Almost exactly 20 minutes later, the cavalry arrives, frozen to the bone but ready for the trip to Manitou. We started down a very steep, slippery slope into town, and already started to feel the heat radiating off the burning houses and businesses about a mile away.
Hey, Cap, what's the plan? Are we sticking together or splitting into groups?
John Wilson asks from behind me. Yeah, so what I am thinking is, we will have you, T, and Marco go into the south side of town, while Eric and I check through downtown. I say we try to gather as much auto gear as we can. Batteries, alternators, gas. I mean, anything you think is salvageable, we should grab. In a best-case scenario, we find a running vehicle or bus would be the best. But regardless, we need to get as much as we can and have it all by 2400. Agreed? I checked with the group to ensure everyone was okay with this plan.
Agreed,
Marco says. Sounds good, Cap, says Eric.
agreed.
Even T agrees. All right, that leaves you, John. Are you okay with this plan too? I ask, gesturing back at John.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
He agrees, but with some hesitation. All right, let's split up. We will meet right here at midnight sharp. No later, guys. We can't afford to be stuck out here all night. Once that minute hand goes past 11:59, we need to move. I grab Eric and start to make our way downtown, while the other half goes southbound. About 5 minutes and Eric notices an old Cadillac next to Wickerbill's gift shop. He checks for any keys in the car. There are none. I asked if he knew how to hotwire a car. He said he had done it once before, but when he was a teen.
I'll give it a shot, though. I mean, what's the worst that could happen?
He says to me before tearing off the plastic frame from the dashboard. While Eric was in the car attempting to hotwire it, I noticed some movement inside one of the stores next door. I advise Eric to stay low, but to keep working on the car. He acknowledges. I go to investigate the store, gun drawn. I don't see anything, though. I pull the handle on the front door. It makes a loud screeching sound. I drop to the floor in case anything was in there. I didn't want to be a deer in headlights. I grab a broken piece of glass from next to me and use it as a mirror to scope out the store, but I still don't see anything. So I decided to go check on Eric as it is starting to get pretty late, and I wanted to make sure we got back on time. I opened the door to see an old guy creeping up behind Eric with a 12-gauge shotgun pointed at the back of his head. Eric! I scream his name as loud as I can, just for him to turn around to see his ultimate fate. Then a concussive blast from the shotgun nearly disintegrated Eric's head from his body. No! I scream as I fall to my knees in disbelief. I look up and see the shotgun is now facing me. I get up and run as fast as I can in the opposite direction. I just kept running. I didn't pay any attention to the time or where I was going, as long as I was just going. I look at my wristwatch and realize it is already 12:06. The other team is probably waiting, but I don't know where I am or where our rendezvous even was. I was afraid they had already left, as I made it very clear to not go past 2400, meaning I would now have to fight the night in this town with only about 5 bullets in my gun. Let the party begin, I yelled to the night sky. Day 18, the new beginning, December 28th, 2048. We've been driving northeast for about 3 days now. Abby had horrible brain damage from the sewer lid hitting her. We haven't seen any hospitals or doctors. Everything had been demolished or looted so badly that it started to look like the apocalypse everywhere. We find ourselves in the modest town of Gillette, Wyoming, a place that once thrived as an oil and gas hub, surrounded by what seemed like a population of rough-and-tumble locals. However, the current reality presents a stark contrast. For the past 2 days, there has been an eerie absence of any signs of life. The last living person I recall encountering was a frail old man hitchhiking back in Rockford, Chicago, heading east. We opted not to pick him up. Since then, the landscape has been devoid of any living soul or the hum of running cars. Surprisingly, even the usual presence of livestock is conspicuously absent in this remote corner of the world.
Where is everybody?
Abby asked me for the 6th time today. I don't know, honey. Please close your eyes and try to get some rest. I'm trying to figure out what to do and where to go. I say to her, after letting out a big sigh, because I'm feeling lost at this point. Her brain injury appears to be getting worse by the day. We need to find civilization and a doctor soon, but Wyoming is by far the worst state to accomplish this. So now I need to decide whether we head south back towards Colorado and the mountains, or stick to our original plan of heading to California or the West Coast. We come to a literal crossroads in the middle of nowhere, Wyoming. I can't make up my mind. I stopped the car and put it in park, got out, and just started screaming. Abby is asleep in the back seat of the car and seems to be completely undisturbed by my screaming. I collapse to my knees on the rugged dirt road and ask the higher powers that be. What should I do? Where do I go? I asked these questions over and over again, but of course I got no response. So I get back in the car and flip a coin, each side indicating west or south. It lands on heads, west towards the coast. Okay, let's go, I say to myself. I threw the car back into drive and started driving in the direction of Montana and California. I look in the rearview mirror to check on Abby, expecting her to still be asleep. But the moment I look back, I notice she is sitting straight up and locks eyes with mine. But she has completely pale white eyes. Abby, I say in a very cautious voice. She had the same look that the old broad did that day in the store. Baby, are you okay? I started to ask before she interrupted and said,
Elements versus humans. Make no error.
Her voice is not the same. It was that very low demonic voice that has become all too familiar to me now. Abi? What are you talking about? Are you okay? What the fuck is happening right now? I say as I pull off the road into an abandoned gas station, coming to a skidding stop, creating a huge dust cloud that consumes our little Subaru.
The human race has solidified its expiration, and we are here to exterminate.
Our expiration? I ask. What expiration? Humans don't have an expiration date other than from dying of natural causes. So why the hell are you saying you're here to exterminate us? That's not how expiration works. I'm now speaking in a heightened tone.
Yes, humans solidified this date many years ago. We came to the leaders of the world with one simple request: to eliminate all global warming and climate issues by the year 2045. They agreed to the terms put forth, with full knowledge of the repercussions if not followed. In the following years, the crisis got much worse. You elected officials who put more focus on combating each other with building borders and adding more security amongst each other, rather than on the environment. This could have been avoided, but that is why we say elements versus humans make no error. Because you can build the highest borders, secure yourselves in bubbles, blow things up, but one way or another nature gives life, and will take that life with ease.
Are you saying that Earth's elements are going to kill us all? I turn around to face this thing.
Yes, Earth has a way of cleansing itself. Graphite's Siberius means healing fungus. That is our main purpose here, to heal the Earth of the human virus.
She says while pointing out the oil and gas towers that surround us.
The mass killing of innocent animals to satisfy your greedy hunger. The needless desire to make as much money as possible. Only when we strip you of all natural elements will you realize you cannot eat money.
Graphite Siberius? Is that where the name Graphite Cyborgs came from? I ask with the same confused look on my face.
Yes, that is a name one of your humans produced for us. Lazy, really. A scientist named John C. Applegate wrote about it in his journal, which went viral after being located in Japan. Ever since then, it has been used across the world. We don't care about that. You will all expire very soon anyway.
She tells me just as her eyes start to glow a yellowish tint. So what you are saying is that we are just some big science experiment and have failed. So now you just kill us all? Ever heard of second chances? I'm yelling at this point. Before I could get an answer, she just vanished, never to be seen again. My wife, partner, and soulmate have just been stolen from me by these selfish Graphite Siberia. Fuck 'em. I searched the area where she disappeared for several hours, but to no avail. I look up and see the sky churning dark gray with streaks of black and purple. Lightning starts to illuminate the destruction headed my way. I decided to not stick around and fight this invisible enemy. I turn the car around and head south towards Colorado, because that is what Abi would have wanted after all. I'm going to kill those bastards before they kill us if it's the last thing I do on this god-forsaken earth. I drive straight for the Colorado mountains and look for any survivors along the way willing to fight.